Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, almost got away with it. Almost got away with a day where I just could make my little RPG a day video and not make another video. But another topic kind of came my way, so here I am making this hopefully quick video. And speaking of, I just saw Big Mike, Tef's Tavern's video he made a couple days ago, I guess, about where he's gonna like stop doing so much YouTube talking head, talking about game theory and stuff like I do, and really concentrate on going back to just gaming and playing, and not so much talking about playing, which I'm like totally down with. I'm down with. I'm really hoping to play a game soon. We were talking already who's going to run the next Hollow Earth Expedition game, and frankly, I'm a little jealous because this is easy. I come home, I can make a video in a few minutes, unless I have to make a few takes, which this one unfortunately had a few takes all of a sudden because I'm tired. But by the time game time shows up, 8 o'clock, I'm in bed. Because I can get up pretty early, so I need to get my butt in gear, for a variety of reasons, and get a different vocation, so I have a little more time to play. However, I'm still going to make these videos. At least I'm making one right now. So I got turned on to this video by a channel called Performance Check. I've never seen a channel before, and the guy did a video response to that surrender video that Matthew Colville did a few days ago that I did sort of a video response to. I forget what I titled the video, but maybe if I'm smart enough, I'll link it here sooner or later. However, the guy had some very interesting points, or took it from a slightly different angle, and I really enjoyed, what he had to say. Now, the video, he also answered a bunch of RPG a day questions. The video is about 45 minutes long. It's a live stream, or was a live stream, so he's doing some question and answer as well with some of his friends. He's got a different YouTube personality than I do. Not an unpleasant personality, just I'm not gonna say anything bad about his channel, but it was a little, it was a little challenging to watch at times. And anyhow, but it's cool. Like I enjoyed the points that he was making. I really identified with quite a few of them. So anyhow, in this video, his major bone of contention with what Matthew Colville had said, and Matthew, like a lot of people, can be guilty, and I've been this way myself, and I try not to be, of kind of like one truism, for lack of a better term. In other words, Matthew was saying, well, players want this. This is what the player mindset is. And, there can be a lot of different player mindsets. There are going to be a lot of different intentions. Imagine me talking about intentions for playing a game. What do we want for this role-playing game experience? So it was, Matthew's video was about D&D. A Performance Check talked a little bit about, in terms of D&D, but really talked about role-playing. So this is not a D&D topic as such. Although it can, it has a little bit of D&D overtones in terms of like the original context. But anyhow, let's get on with it, shall we? What Matthew said was that people show up and they want to play D&D. And what Matthew made it very clear, as Performance Check was talking about, is they show up to be heroes. They show up to win. They show up to overcome challenges and obstacles, and maybe fight against what's seemingly insurmountable odds, but always come out on top. They're going to be heroic. They don't want to have to back down from a fight. If things look really dicey, like there's no way we should be able to win this. They don't want to run away. They don't want to surrender. They don't want to flee. Or bargain for their lives, or all that kind of stuff that's less heroic. They want to go in and beat him. One of the great points that Performance Check had was the idea he was talked about a game he was playing Vikings, and they all died, and it was this insurmountable odds. But these guys, the best thing in the world for them to do is to die with a sword in their hands, and they'll go to Valhalla. That's great. So I was like, it's a big thumbs up for that. I was like, of course, that's awesome. That's meaningless character death isn't always meaningless. Depends on what the motivations of that character are. Anyhow, I can drink some coffee to keep myself awake here because I got to stay up tonight, believe it or not, after that whole talk about going to bed early. But he also mentioned, this is the part that really kind of rang a bell with me, the idea that there are all kinds of other great outcomes. It doesn't have to be winning all the time. It can the game can be so much more interesting, exciting, fun when there's other outcomes, like you run away, like you're defeated, like you get taken prisoner. When the game can be far more interesting and far more exciting and much richer when you're kind of beaten down. You're encountering adversity. The outcomes can be much cooler. And I started to think all of a sudden about what was happening. And I've done this before. I've played in games like this. Matthew absolutely talks about this being the way to play. And You know, I've heard many people talk about this, but the idea that, you know, the players are going to go in and they're going to face whatever adversity it is, whatever puzzle, challenge, etc. And maybe it seems like insurmountable odds, but they're going to come up with tactics and figure out how to overcome it, and then they overcome it. And that's, you know, the thrill of, you know, winning over and over again. And in many of his videos, and I don't believe Matthew talked about it in this one so much, but the idea that sometimes behind the screen, as it were, the game master needs to tweak things. Maybe you need to amp the opposition up a little bit to make it tougher, so it's not just this big wash, like it's got to be epic. And at the same time, if it looks like the party's going to get TPK'd or something, you know, they're not going to win, that sometimes you need to scale things back a little bit. You know, and Matthew isn't, you know, he obviously has talked about in the past the idea there's times when people get taken prisoner and whatnot, but for the most part, it should be the players winning. They're there to be heroes, so you're kind of there as a game master to facilitate them being heroes. You know, I hope I'm not putting too many words in his mouth, but that's definitely a game philosophy. That's not just Matthew's. And I started to think all of a sudden this South Park episode. I'm not sure which one it was, and I'm not sure if you've ever seen this one, but you know, at the end, you know, you have Kyle and Stan, and they sit there, and one of them always says, well, hey, I learned something today. And then they talk about whatever the heck it is they learned. And I remember watching this one episode where one of them starts to say that, and they say, hey, you know, I learned something today. And everyone says, stop, wait, this is a formula. That's what I mean. Like, well, this always happens. It's like, what are you talking about? So, you know, every week, you know, or it seems like every week, like Kenny dies, and something happens where we, you know, have this crazy thing going on, and then you and I are sitting around talking about what we learned. Because don't you see this? This is a formula. Real life isn't like this. What's going on? And yeah, that's what it becomes. You know, to me, it becomes a different coat of paint on the same scenario, run over and over again. And this is what Performance Check was kind of getting at. And it's a formula. There's the heroes, they encounter some kind of challenge, whatever it might be, whether it's combat or something else, and somehow, despite all odds, they persevere over and over and over again. And maybe the coat of paint on is a little different, the scenario looks a little different, but somehow behind the veil, the game master is just pulling the strings just enough to make sure that happens every time, and they emerge as big damn heroes. And I don't know about you, but I don't want a formulaic experience. I've certainly played in a lot of games where that happened. I've been guilty of doing it myself in the past, and try not to do it now. And, you know, sometimes it was fun for a few times, but it started to feel shallow and, dare I say, like meaningless. Like it was just kind of like the ashes in your mouth sort of scenario. And, you know, back, you know, years ago, I didn't have the words, you know, I didn't think to myself how to put it. But it's like, just something, there should be something more. And then when I played in other games and other sessions where it was something more and consequences were real, and, you know, it just seemed like the game was more real. It wasn't formulaic. You know, we got the crap beat out of us sometimes. Sometimes, you know, all sorts of things happened. Hilarity ensued. And that to me was much cooler. When there was real risk, real reward. And the game master wasn't facilitating us being big damn heroes. Sometimes we were. Sometimes we emerge on top, you know, triumphantly through brawn or brain, usually brain. Well, I don't know, somebody was smart in the group, you know, but or a lot of times just plain old luck. I mean, that's what these bad boys are for, you know, luck. You know, that felt like we earned it. That felt a lot better than, you know, constantly, you know, going through this formula and looking at each other at the end of the session, going, hey, you know, I learned something today. So hopefully that made some sense. But what's your thoughts on this? You know, go watch the video, see what you think. Because I didn't touch on everything he did. You just have to kind of, well, you'll see.